It is the 31st century, and mankind is once again at war. The battlefields of the future are dominated by huge robotic war machines known as battlemechs. Piloting these awesome weapons of war are men and women, the elite of the elite, knowing that each battle could be their last. They are mech warriors.
Hello, Matt.
Hi, Rob. Welcome to the inner sphere.
I'm so excited to be here in the inner sphere where all things happen. The
Except
center,
for the periphery where other things happen. But yes, we're in the middle.
The center of civilization.
We're broadcasting live from Sandhurst Military College, the headquarters of Comstar, across the HPG network.
I was trying to come up with a catchphrase or something, but Battletech, for all of its delightful, well, everything, doesn't really have a great tagline. There's no...
Oh, it does, Rob. You just don't know enough. Here's the tagline
what's the tagline?
So, okay, in the 1980s, or early 1990s, Battletech was at its peak. It was taking the world by stage, even catching such stars and luminaries as John Belushi. Not Jim Belushi.
John.
The other Belushi.
The weed smoking one. The
weed
farming
smoking one. Editor's note, both Matt and Rob got the Belushi brothers confused. We mean Jim, as in James Belushi. And his catchphrase was, "No guts, no galaxy."
That's pretty good.
How do you like it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a series of like commercials and intro videos for the Battle Pods games that you could find in your local shopping mall in the 1990s, where you could strap into 90 tons of walking destruction.
And try to bring me back some parts I recognize, all right? Remember, no guts, no galaxy.
Awesome.
He would talk to you and hold a cigar. So yeah, so that's what. So I will be your John Belushi today.
So friends,
a very sad phrase. I am nowhere nearly as successful as John Belushi.
Not to mention Jim Belushi. Hello, everyone. This is neither a Battletech nor a Belushi fan cast, though it could be. This is Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Dungeon Master Matt.
I'm Dungeon Master Rob, and today Matt is going to talk to me about Battletech, and I'm very excited about this. We are both fans. Matt and I have both played the board game and several. I think I have technically played every iteration of Mech Warrior, going back to Mech Warrior 1. I am not as much of a super
Fire up
fan.
that NES, baby.
Not as much of a fan as Matt is, but I have always liked Battletech, Mech Warrior, mechs, and it has always been a part of my gaming and science fiction, oeuvre. Anyway,
well, this oeuvre is good because it's got just like such fun world building,
which is why we wanted to talk about it. The Battletech. Well, there's a lot of reasons why Battletech has endured. And, giant robots, fun.
There's stompy. They're
stompy
big.
Art, close, almost plagiaristic similarity to other franchises. It's.
We'll get into that. Lawsuits, every mismanagement. I mean, every hallmark of a classic gaming company.
Classic, just the
from incompetence to just white collar crime. We've got it all.
Yeah, sheer ineptitude. It's all the greatest hits of a gaming company, gaming franchise that has been around since the 80s, and lived through the rise and fall of the great tabletop empires, and the back when you had cartoons of things like Battletech and Dungeons and Dragons and all that. But it is a terrific bit of world building, and so I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited to have Matt talk to me about it because, like I said, Matt is the real expert here.
Rob is the poet, and I am the traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of robot stand in the desert." and we will look on these works.
And boy,
be mighty and despair.
We will despair. There will be some despairing.
Yeah. So we love Battletech, and we should mention there is a role playing game to it as well.
That's right.
And we do think whether you're interested in playing Battletech as a role playing game, which is what this podcast is about, or if you just want to take inspiration from the world building, hopefully you'll find something fun in this episode.
Yeah, I think I've played in this RPG, and I've played in RPGs inspired by this. I think it actually lends itself really well to serialized role-playing game, and I think there's a lot to learn from it. So, Matt, I'm going to tell you what I know about Battletech, which is,
okay.
I mean, a lot, but also not a lot. And you can then take us from there. Right. So
go ahead, free birth.
Battletech was founded by what's his name?
Jordan Weissman.
Jordan Weissman in '84.
Mm-hmm.
It was a war game first, right? Like it was like a
yeah. It's a hybrid war game, board game kind of thing.
Gotcha. And then there were like a bunch of like different spin-offs and franchises and various iterations. Obviously the video game, a cartoon, and we're now up to
the year 2021, which in the Battletech universe is slightly after the Second Soviet Civil War. And actually, we're only 1 year away from the influential physics paper that will prove that hyperspace travel via the Kearney-Fuchida drive is, in fact, possible. But people are talking more about Battletech now, not only because a year ago there was a new role-playing game published, but like for the first time in 10 years, and then before that for like the first time in 20 years, there's like new miniatures that you can play, like new source books published by Catalyst, which also owns or also licenses Shadowrun.
There was a very good video game, a strategic video game, not a first-person or third-person shooter, called Battletech.
Just called Battletech, which brought Jordan Weissman back with his new studio, Harebrained Schemes. And there's also a lot of renewed interest in Battletech because of shenanigans in the other wargaming giant robot in our hobby, Warhammer and Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, there's been a crackdown on independent creators and also
fan animation. I don't know.
Games Workshop is just doing Games Workshop things. So, but
I don't care. But it does mean that like I'm going to estimate here, but like 5% of extremely online Warhammer 40K fans have decided to like publicly quit, and they all chose to play Battletech, which
many
means
of the
that
streamers and YouTubers have made the change, which
means that the player base online of Battletech has like quintupled or something. So you know, like 5% of 40K quits, and Battletech has more people playing it now than any time in the last 40 years. So,
and I will say that it's more than a little bit play to win, and it's a bit like, I don't know, World of Mechs to World of Tanks, but Mech Warrior Online is a pretty fun Battletech iteration if you want to hop into a mech and get blown up by people who spend a lot of money on their fancy shiny mechs. But you know, it's there.
There's also Mech Warrior 5, which you and I had some fun times playing online together. It's
again
pretty brainless, but
it's fun to hop in a mech and stomp around, and
it's like half of a video game, but the half that's there is like
it's the good half. It's the good half of a video game. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I feel like Mech Warrior, what was it? Mech Warrior 2 was the really good one.
It was at the top of the charts.
And when that came out, it was definitely like the peak of my like gaming lifestyle. I don't know. I was a teen.
Yeah.
And I know that you bought a joystick. I don't know if I bought a joystick, but I
bought a like whatever Microsoft Sidewinder, and it came with Mech Warrior 2 or Mech Warrior 3, and then that's how I got into
That's
it.
right.
That's how I started this dark journey.
That's right.
To the Inner Sphere.
They were shipping. That's right. They were pairing them together. You needed it if you wanted to be good. You needed a Sidewinder. Anyway, but it's interesting
need that force feedback, Rob.
It's interesting that we're talking about this because Battletech, lore-wise, has a lot similarities with another franchise that we talked about recently, Dune.
Right.
In fact, a uncanny number of similarities. And again, my very like basic understanding, but it's feudal. It's there's a mix of
correct.
high and high technology, but also very like old technology. There's no aliens or robots or any a lot of like high sci-fi concepts. This is not to say that there's any obvious theft going on, but it's clear to me that
it's
Dune
clear
was
Jordan Wiseman read Dune and was like,
Yeah.
this is cool.
this is
But
cool.
and I think Jordan Wiseman is good, maybe not just as like a world builder, but specifically as like a franchise creator. Is he has 3 times during his career said, okay, what's like a core like fun thing that people are interested in being and playing pretend at? And one of those was like, what if you were a pirate, but also like a dog fighting World War II pilot? Wouldn't that be cool? And he made Crimson Skies. And he said, what if you were like a hacker, but also like a sexy elf? And then he made Shadowrun, right? Or his company made Shadowrun. And then the other time, or really the first time, he said, what if you had a giant robot, but you were also a knight?
That's right. Yeah. What if you were a knight, but instead of riding a horse, you rode a giant robot? Which is honestly, it's a great idea. Just take 2 cool things. If you're ever trying to like come up with a like cool, you just want to like build your campaign on something, take 2 things that are cool but very different and find a way to smash them together.
Yeah.
Fighter, pilot, pirate, knight, giant robot. Yeah, it's a classic. So here's a couple more things again that
Okay.
I know before I let you run loose.
Before you let me unload the archives of Sarna on you.
Before you unleash your SRM 40s directly into my face, SRM 40s of knowledge.
SRMs only go up to 6, Rob.
Whoops, sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
LRM.
I'll stop correcting.
LRMs go up to 20. No, nothing
Yes.
goes up to 40. I got excited.
Medium range missiles.
Okay.
So as you can tell, Battletech's a thing all about numbers. It's a lot of math.
Folks, we love math.
What's your
We
other
love math.
questions before I start telling you all about Battletech?
I don't remember if this was Jordan Wiseman or another person involved with Battletech, but I remember hearing this and I remember really liking it. So one of the core concepts of Battletech is that all of these mechs, the technology to make them or the technology to produce them has largely been lost. Not entirely, and this depends on the time period, but like it's hard to make
Or the source, yeah.
hard to invent or make new mechs, and so a lot of work is done repairing, salvaging, building them from scrap, making sure that your ancient mech is in good condition. These are passed down from father to son or whatever.
Discard the meat, save the metal.
Right. And I remember, and again, I don't know if this was Wiseman or somebody else, but he said that he got this idea from working in the Navy, and that all of the battleships or the dreadnoughts, like the ships, everybody had forgotten how to do the maintenance or where it had come from. Like the techniques for building or like putting on like fresh hull had been lost, and so everybody was just kind of like patching these World War II battleships. Trying to just like keep them floating, no idea how they had ever been built in the first place. And I always liked that idea. I always thought that was very interesting.
Oh, well, this is a great segue, Rob, to the rules of this universe. I think it's a useful way to approach world building, and one we haven't talked about, right? Which is to like set out some rules for your universe. This could work for a magic system, but really I think it's maybe best for like an alternate universe or sci-fi setting. Wiseman and Battletech call the concept you're describing lost tech or lost technology. And in the original timeline or time frame of the Battletech universe, right, the core technologies needed to build mechs and stuff are things people can't do anymore. And we do kind of see this in the world. The example of the battleships they drew on is one. Another is I don't think they can build new like F-22s anymore because they've like lost some software and like some diagrams. Not that they really need to, because it's a stupid, shitty project. That,
It's a very expensive plane, but yeah. Even if we wanted to make more, we couldn't. So this core idea of lost tech is very interesting to me. I guess it goes without saying this setting is in the far future, 1,000 years in the future,
Yes.
roughly.
The first real game is set in 3025, so we're almost at the 1,000-year mark.
Yeah.
But some of the other cool rules of the universe, and interrupt me as often as you want, Rob, besides lost tech, is that there's only like 4 or 5 like inventions that like we can't really conceive of or understand, or really do right now. One is fusion power, and like small scale fusion power. Every battle mech has a giant robot has like a small fusion plant in that. And that's something we like kind of imagine, but it's not like so far-fetched it like really feels weird or out of the ordinary.
And the others?
Oh, the other two. The other two are faster than light travel, which involves like punching a hole through hyperspace, but it can only be done in 30-year light increments. So you can imagine if you're spreading through the stars, you have to hop from planet to planet. And even then, you can only do it when you're at a like gravity neutral zone. So like outside of the plane of a solar system or at a special Lagrange point, which means that like traveling from space is like hard, and it means that like people are going to see you coming. You can't pop your spaceship right over an enemy city. You've got to burn in from outside the solar system, which is going to take like a couple days or a couple weeks. And the other is faster than light communication, right? Which is still expensive and hard to do. And that's pretty much it, right? There's some like futuristic weapons, lasers, particle, projectile cannons, Gauss rifles, but everything else is like pretty like normal. Like even the mechs themselves are supposed to work on myomer fibers, like, you know, carbon nanotubes that constrict when power is given to them. And we've like kind of got some of that. I mean, it may never work, but we could imagine it working.
Well, yeah. I mean, all these things are, except for, again, faster than light travel and faster than light communication, all of these things have, like, we do have lasers. They're not particularly powerful, but you can imagine scaling them up with the right power source. We have,
right.
We can.
We're gonna pretend that clouds of dust won't defeat them, or
mirrors,
a fog. Aha!
Whatever.
I'm immune to your weapons. I use smoke grenade.
Yeah, you know, a railgun or a Gauss rifle. That's the thing that we can sort of like vaguely conceive of. And I always, again,
And
I like
they also
this.
put. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just always like this. I'm a big sci-fi nerd, and my preference is actually, I don't love like hard sci-fi more than other sci-fi, but my preference is that either you just do away with the explanations or you keep it real simple. And I like this about Battletech. Everything is within sort of like the realm of imagination. It's very hard sci-fi in the kind of way that I appreciate. I don't have a lot of trouble imagining that humanity could invent a few things and then stagnate. And I think that's a interesting concept and an interesting setting.
There are some other minor things, but the other cool world building rule that the creators like set for themselves, which goes against the typical sci-fi thing, is like there's no intelligent life. Sort of on the idea that, like looking at that one equation where like, are we going to encounter life? All those other numbers are high. There's lots of habitable planets. There's lots of habitable planets that we could live on. There's lots of life, right? Plants, animals. But like intelligent life is like rare. And so far, never encountered by human beings, except for one novel in the Battletech universe, which happened where people jumped to another galaxy by accident. And they will never return. And they meet some bird people. But other than that, there are no other intelligent creatures than humans.
Which is, I think, an interesting and defensible world-building choice. I think that it's interesting. You start adding in too many other species, and then you're just Warhammer, which I think maybe is why they went this direction, to distinguish. Again, if one were just to look far away and squint, you might not be able to tell the difference between, you know, a Warhammer game and a Battletech game. Again,
but they're so different. We've got hexes, Rob.
If you were a Philistine, I'm just saying, you know, you might not be able to tell. So Matt,
this,
I want to bring one more thing up, you know, and that's that we love our giant mechs. We really do.
Right.
We love our stompy
we dig
robots.
giant robots. You dig giant robots. I dig giant robots.
Chicks dig giant robots. I must, however, point out that giant robots are not a concept that were invented by Jordan Wiseman.
No.
In fact, there's a rich and illustrious history of giant robots stemming largely from Japanese anime, Macross and obviously Gundam,
Charger Joe or whatever. So what happened in the 1980s is Wiseman went to the like distributor of these cartoons in the United States of like Robotech and stuff like that, and just licensed their image as art for his completely unrelated universe and game. And the robot designs from those shows, of course, are super freaking cool. But yeah,
super freaking cool.
For the first set of art for Battletech, they just stole some anime art, or they steal. He did pay for it, but then the legal rights became like questionable when it passed to a different company. There were some lawsuits for a while. Those mechs were not allowed to be, used until they basically made some new art, won a lawsuit against the new American distributor of these animes, a company called Harmony Gold, and all of those original mechs that basically OG fans of the game are really into are back. But for example, in the heyday, like MechWarrior 2, MechWarrior 3, the games that we played, you couldn't see any of the original mechs, the Warhammer, the Marauder, the Stinger.
This is interesting to me. Since then, there's been Battletech has developed its own distinctive style, and clearly it is, obviously inspired by, but not a direct theft or ripoff of, Mobile Suit Gundam or anything like that. But it's the start is interesting, and the two inspirations have diverged greatly, and our Western Battletechs are distinctly different from the Eastern style,
right?
And
I caution anyone like
nightly
reading
combat.
into nightly combat. I caution anyone from like reading into something about like understanding the differences between Japanese and American culture by this, but like Battletech's robots, unlike Evangelion or Macross or something, they never can like do 3 somersaults, jump into
Right.
the atmosphere, fire a giant beam cannon to shoot a battleship in half. They're slower, they're stompier, they're still very maneuverable and cool, but they're like big and more ponderous as opposed to like Super Mario Ninja jumpy thing.
Yeah. This varies from franchise to franchise, but yeah, in general, I think anime mechs are much more agile and maneuverable, and often tend to be more humanoid than Battletech mechs, which are bipedal but otherwise, only vaguely. Matt, by the way, let's talk about this. I want to pin you down on this because I love a stompy mech. I think they're fun. I think they're delightful. Legs are a liability. Matt, why are the mechs not on treads? Tell me why the mechs are not on treads.
Well, you see, the battle mech, the modern battle mech, Rob, combines the maneuverability of a walker, right, with the armor of a tank, thereby being the king of the battlefield. It can take down an aerospace fighter or a tank or, infantry or a battleship on sea. The idea of having legs, obviously, this is all just made up because you want to be as you want to be as hull down as possible in any sort of combat where you're shooting things at people. But it does make a certain amount of sense in that like a battle mech can fight in space on a planet without an atmosphere. It can climb up a mountain or push like a building over. And will never suffer the problems of a vehicle. But like battle mechs are not so powerful that like a platoon of tanks can't pose a threat to them.
Well, and like all things in fantasy and science fiction, often the answer is just because it's cool, which is an answer I am 100% on board with.
Well, and the other reason they're used is cultural. cultural. I will get to the cultural explanation, which we often ignore as world.
And I do want to hear the cultural explanation because I'm also going to ask you annoying questions about that. But like, I want to point out that here in America, we have spent $1 trillion, $3 trillion, $5 trillion on a plane that barely flies.
We spent a couple billion to replace a donkey for soldiers
because we love our aerial superiority. But if we were mostly interested in winning wars, there are much, much cheaper ways to do that. And so like spending $1 gajillion in the F-35, you might look at that and be like, why on earth would you spend this much money on a air superiority fighter when you already have that and your existing fighters work just fine? It's cultural. It's social. It's we think they're cool. We think that fancy, expensive jets are cool, and that's why we spent.
It's that little domino from like Kenny Loggins writing Danger Zone.
That's right.
To
Kenny
$1 trillion.
That's right. Kenny Loggins
fighter.
writes Danger Zone, and then 30 years later, we have a plane that can't fly in the rain. That's a 1-to-1 domino effect. Yeah. So let's talk about All right. So again,
I'm gonna launch into my story of Battletech.
I don't need an explanation, but like because I love the battle mech. But why, Matt? Why would I, a noble son of House Steiner or Davian, why would I get into a giant stompy robot and fight rather than hire a platoon of, I don't know, mercenary tanks, cannon fodder, and do battle as we have always done in the modern era, with sheer volume of combined arms, munitions, and just sheer manpower. What has changed in the calculation?
I'm gonna sound like a Zen master, Rob, but I can't tell you that without first explaining the universe.
I can't wait. All right, tell me.
Okay. All right, so the Battletech universe opens really like 100 years in the future with the Western alliance of countries in economic and political superiority and the invention of a faster-than-light engine, creating mankind's first colony on Tau Ceti.
Okay.
Very standard stuff so far.
Love Tau Ceti. Not Alpha Centauri.
It's one of our favorite stars. Yeah, Alpha Centauri didn't have any habitable planets. They sent some unmanned jump ships to them.
Not Trappist 7, but I don't think we knew about Trappists when Battletech was written. So that's fine.
Definitely
that's all
not
good.
In the 1980s.
Trappist 1. Trappist 1 has 7 planets anyway. Sorry, Tau Ceti. Excellent choice. Pro Ceti. You can call the people Setians or Taurians.
Yes. Right, and they will later produce some of the finest mercenaries in the inner sphere. But this cues 100 years of like expansion across the stars as new colonies on like worlds that are like basically good enough to live on without really any modifications by human beings. Humans settle first like 100 stars, then like close to 1,000, then 2,000, spreading throughout a zone of habitation around like 500 light years in diameter.
Now, Matt, I'm going to interrupt you here because I genuinely don't know. Are any of these worlds as good as Earth or Terra? Are there
basically no.
Okay.
Right, we're going to take the like hard sci-fi thing that like humans evolved on Terra. So like by definition, no world is going to be as good as Terra.
Which I think is extremely valid and correct. Yeah.
Several come very, very close, and these are highly valuable worlds. Others, of course, like have like, just like iron out the wazoo or germanium out the wazoo, but like, they don't have they have like some weakness, right?
I don't know how much Battletech goes into this, but what types of people are the type that go to the colonies? Are they
right? First, the Western Alliance really controls colonization, but after colonies start like leaving colonies, and the people who are like oppressed in the world like get a chance to go out to the colonies, then basically everyone on Earth is sending colonists out. And Terra is supposedly still the master of all of these until this like sort of vague thing in the lore happens. The Outer Reaches rebellion, and basically humans, except for the area near Terra, are kind of fending for themselves. Now, faster than light travel has been invented, but not faster than light communication. So communication is still done by like courier ship, and it's still very slow. So in the outer reaches of human space, warlords arise that consolidate control of a planet and consolidate some neighboring planets, and by necessity, they have to leave someone they absolutely trust in charge of those planets, probably someone who's related to them, thus laying the seeds of Neofeudalism, according to the New Avalon Institute of Science.
We love appending neo to a word and to make it cool, and Neofeudalism, that's the pinnacle of it.
And it is super cool, Rob.
It is super cool.
After the Outer Reaches rebellion, the Western Alliance, now the Terran Alliance, basically pulls its control back to just the inner colonies and reformulates as the Terran hegemony. Still, absolutely the most powerful human state in the entire galaxy. They've got all the manufacturing and science equipment. Everyone else out there is, still just a couple generations or 10 generations off of being a colony. And this ignites the so-called Age of War. There's still no battle mechs, but conquest still has to be done on the ground because space conquest is hard. Jump ships are not like equipped with a lot of weapons and are still very valuable. And you can kind of just go around, right?
No, I mean, this makes sense. And the whole, again, this is both in universe and logically, like if you can't you have to jump into like a gravity neutral zone, right? You have to jump outside of the gravity well of a planet. Takes time to get there, limits your ability to do, fancy space maneuvers, makes your jump ships vulnerable. I get that. It makes sense. You got to fight on the ground.
Okay, so humankind has evolved to several rings, right? There's a ring around Terra, the Terran hegemony. In the next ring, dozens of states of alliances of planets for trade and safety form. Many of their names are lost to history, but others will survive. The Rasselhag Principality, the St. Ives Compact, the Republic of Sky, the Tamar Pact. But 5 of these states will emerge as the most powerful in the second ring of humanity. The weeaboo Japanese-inspired, remember this was written in the 1980s, Draconis Combine, led by the nobles of House Kurita. The Federated Sons, basically English, French good guys, again, written in the 1980s, led by House Davion. The evil, scheming Chinese and Russian Capellan Confederation, led by House Liao. The bickering and infighting, take-your-pick human civilization, the Free
Euros.
Yeah, they're basically like Eastern Europeans / Romanians.
They're Europeans.
Right, they're
House
every
Steiner.
European. Oh, sorry, yes.
Sorry,
House
I jumped ahead.
Yeah,
this
you
is
skipped
one of the ones that I know. So, wait,
Right.
Are we not talking about Steiner?
No, House Steiner founded by Scots and Germans, the most evil of all Europeans.
Of all Europeans.
No, they're the mercantile and manufacturing powerhouse.
Yes.
The Lyrian Commonwealth.
Oh,
or
sorry, I
Lyran Commonwealth, led by House Steiner, and then everyone's least favorite or most forgotten great house, House Merrick, leading the Free Worlds League, whose culture is inspired by just everything. Right?
I did actually forget about Merrick until you just said it.
Neo-feudalism develops. The great houses conquer huge amounts of territory, almost rivaling the power of the Terran hegemony itself, while humans continue to expand beyond what is now called the inner sphere into the periphery, as basically dissidents and malcontents and just adventurers settle further and further worlds. The leader of the Terran hegemony, the director, a man named James Cameron, draws up the inner sphere's first peer list, which is very important.
Okay, hold on a second here.
Yes.
Is this literally like England has a like a book of peers currently. Is this
Yes.
is this literally what that is? Okay.
Yes, that's what it is. And
Okay.
it includes not only, nobles from the Terran hegemony, but from the other 5 great houses. And we're in the, 2400s right now.
Okay. Do
So
we have
we're-
battle mechs yet?
No battle mechs.
Okay,
The
that's
Age
fine.
of War also uses, a lot of big weapons that people don't like nuclear bombs, chemical and bio weapons that often devastate entire planets. And the great houses are like, shit, this sucks. We can't make any progress. We're nuking each other back. And they adopt basically future Geneva Convention, the Ares Convention. It's like, hey, maybe no more bombing civilians. And everyone's really traumatized by this. It's a culture of trauma. Everyone's like, man, just imagine we're it's hard for us to tell, right? We're incredibly fucked up. We live in the nation, but also a global culture where we just wiped a couple cities off the map with nuclear weapons, and we're still thinking about that. Imagine if that had happened to
Imagine if
billions
you do that all the time
on many different
to whole
planets.
Yeah, it'll fuck with your brain. I can see that.
It was also just a few years after the Ares Convention that was adopted that the Terran hegemony invents the Mackie, the very first battle mech. And as you point out, Rob, it's maybe not that great, right? Legs are a problem. It can fall over. Tanks rarely fall over. I don't know if you knew that, but
I'm not an expert on tanks, but just by looking at them, I think it's hard for them to fall over.
this is why it's a cultural thing. However, it's still very powerful. And after some early first victories, and it became a status symbol of how powerful Terran technology was, everyone was like, I want this. I want the ability to be a pilot myself. And along with the invention of the neurohelmet, a giant dorky-looking helmet, look up the art, that goes over your head
Dumb as shit.
and connects your brain to the
character
battle
art
mech.
in battle mech in their mech, nobody looks cool. Nobody.
Everyone's got big, poofy 80s hair, is wearing giant shoulder pads, and no pants because it's hot in a battle mech.
hot in the
So,
As we were playing MechWarrior 5, I appreciated that all of the character art made zero effort to look cool. It was clearly just an update of existing character art, which didn't look cool. Everybody looked like a fucking dork, and I appreciated that. Yeah, it rules.
so battle mech technology proliferates as nobles are like, this is the weapon for me, right?
Right.
And it's definitely a thing where if you draw on your history, it's nobles don't want to be a officer leading a volley of musket fire. They want to be in a suit of armor on a fucking horse because it looks cool.
They also want to be above everybody else so they can look cool, but also so they can see everything. I do think this is really, really interesting. And I always liked this because it's basically a celebration of and a critique of knights. Because if you break down the idea of a knight, it has the exact same problems. A horse is a extremely fragile animal. They'll break their fucking hoof if something looks at them wrong. And then you put a guy on it in armor, and you put armor on the horse, and then
Horses get scared,
Horses-
There's problems with horses.
this is expensive as
We
shit.
love them. We stand a horse.
We
but,
love horses. Horses are beautiful creatures. I'm just
There's
saying.
nothing better for the inside of a dungeon master than the outside of a horse.
We love horses, but we have bred them to
Ronald
be
Wilson Reagan.
1,000-pound, running machines, but they're on basically they run on their fingernails. Anyway, the point I'm making.
Well,
here,
what if we made 100-ton running machines that ran on footpads?
Yeah. The point I'm making is that as dumb as battle mechs seem, it is no less dumb than the primary form of warfare that dominated, the Europe. Every time, sorry, military history nerds, don't get mad at me, but largely when armored, noble knights met other forms of combat, like when they encountered Mamluks or, the Mongol Kipchaks, they got fucked up because they were like, why are you doing this? We're going to use actual military tactics that work and not fight your dumb honor battles. Anyway, But if everybody,
we all know the stories of like the Mongols like shooting the couple of Mongols who landed in Japan, like shooting some samurai and being like, "Ha, what?
Yeah.
Why are you challenging us?
why are
We'll
you doing this?
Shoot you with arrows."
Right, so we're gonna stand back here and we're gonna shoot you with arrows because why would I fight you in a fair fight? The point of
Well, I'm going to answer the question in a little while, Rob. What if Mongols were even more honor bound than samurai?
I know
And it's going to really fuck you
I
up.
can't wait until we come to that. But if everybody's playing by the same rules and likes to fight in your expensive, vulnerable, whatevers, then it makes a certain degree of sense. All right, so we have mechs.
Then we get to the 26th century, so the 2500s, and basically the Terran hegemony pulls a NATO. They're like, listen, we're America. We're more powerful than all the other great houses led by the Camerons, but we're going to make you Kuritas, Davions, Liaos, Merricks, Steiners, like join us in like an alliance because we're tired of fighting, and we could also fight the people beyond the inner sphere in the periphery, and we all share this common culture of like nobility. And so they do. The 5 great houses and House Cameron as First Lord sign Space NATO, which they call inventively the Star League.
The Star League. We love it. We love a league. We love a league that's among the stars. Yeah. Is there any is there any like interesting name left for a collection of confederated planets? Imperium, Federation. There's just
There's none.
There's nothing left. It's all been done to death. Might as well just go with Star League.
Unity, the Union, just low effort, put it in there, the Star League. And this was like in the original Battletech, first edition box, which is fun. But this starts a like era of a golden age of technology. Like the couple things that like break the rules of the game, like terraforming machines that we really can't understand, are invented during this time, along with faster than light communication, the HPG network, which binds the Star League together, and like advances in like biotechnology and all kinds of things. But the Star League then it's an era of peace and prosperity for the Inner Sphere as the Star League begins conquering all of the tinier states out in the and independent planets out in the periphery and annexing them as territorial states, basically colonies that don't have the same rights as the noble houses of the Inner Sphere.
Space imperialism, Matt. It's problematic, Matt. I'm afraid Star League might have to be canceled. I'm just,
We're canceling the Star League.
Canceling
it's bad,
the Star League. It's not good.
And the fun thing about
Very
the lore of
sus.
Battletech,
Highly problematic.
there are many fun things about the lore of Battletech. A lot of it is written is in-universe sources, which is always fun because you're like, what's true or not? There's a lot of really great novels, like over 100, that detail characters during all this time. But one of the like really fun things is it's like, it's fairly critical of anything that in like people call good. And later in the history, everyone's going to look back on the Star League and be like, oh, it's great, except for the people in the periphery who are like, wait, the Star League was just an empire with all the shitty parts of empire.
But they did make a lot of fun technology, Matt.
They did. And the Star League people will say, people in the periphery, the Magistracy of Canopus, the Tauran Concordat, the Outwards Worlds Alliance. Aren't you grateful for all the space roads we built you?
Aren't you glad?
Telegraphs?
Aren't you glad for all of the railroads we built and
the telegraphs? And here's a picture of Cecil Rhodes holding the telegraph wire from Cairo to Cape Town. And it's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck off.
But battle mechs reach their like pinnacle of technology. They're super cool and good. And again, they're like maybe not even really the best technology, but like the nobles fucking love them. So they build a shit ton of battle mechs. And the Ares conventions, while not followed out in the periphery, are definitely followed on any disputes in the Star League. So the entire Inner Sphere, and to a lesser extent the periphery, develop a culture of 1, not fighting battles in populated areas. 2, not using like more logical total war methods like orbital bombardment or massive forces. Instead, battles take place between smaller groups of knights in their mechs, and mech warrior families develop. These are so nobles, like if you're a duke of a planet, sure, of course you have a mech, but if you're like a minor noble, your house's nobility is built around the fact that you own a couple battle mechs. And that's why you're cool and important and have estates. And God help you if you lose your battle mechs, because then you've lost your high status in society. And there's also a bunch of mercenaries now.
I've been reading a lot about. I've been reading Patrick Wyman's The Verge, which is about the 40 years, 1490 to 1530. A very interesting time period for a lot of reasons, but it makes me think. Well, we've gone a long way without saying it, but Battletech is very much like the Holy Roman Empire in space, and it makes me think about, again, one wonders why states or groups don't employ total war tactics, but if this is conflict between families about mostly about treasure, status, prestige, if the only people who can make war are the very wealthy, right, then it does kind of make a degree of sense that there's a lot of, sure, plenty violent, plenty disruptive, but, honor-bound, rules-based, social combat of sorts. Again, we moderns live in a time of total war, of ultimate ideology and world-spanning
ideology.
Yes.
Every day we're eating from the garbage
every day
can
we are
of
eating from the
ideology.
trash can of warfare ideology. But it's hard to imagine, right, warfare that is contained or honor bound.
And when total wars do happen, people are shocked, except when they happen out in the colonial regions, in the periphery.
Sure.
But when they happen in the imperial core, people get really pissed. And that brings me to the next chapter.
Well, I was gonna say we gotta pick this up because we're
all right. Well, you delayed me with all of your questions at the beginning. I had it mapped out to a tight 50 minutes. But
you told me to. You told me to. This is what you get.
All right.
But yeah, there's a lot going on. What happens to the Star League, Matt?
Well, I mean, the fun thing about Battletech is it has a meta plot. Like, the universe moves forward, and you can play in kind of any time that you really want to. What happens with the Star League? 200 years of prosperity. However, heavy taxes.
Pax Starliga.
Yes, a Pax Starliga, and heavy taxes, and a lot of control of the territorial states in the periphery, which also adopt now these kind of noble houses like the colonial center, until one Stefan Amaris, the ruler of one of the largest periphery states, the Rim World's Republic, befriends House Cameron and takes over as kind of regent for when this is the problem with having kings and queens, right? What if you have one that's really young or very stupid? And he befriends the ruler of the Terran hegemony, young Richard Cameron, and betrays and murders him, along with all of House Cameron.
You hate to see it, but also you kind of love to see it.
You do love to see it. Obviously, this came up with in the 80s and 90s. Stefan Amaris has a literal Fu Manchu. There is so much yellow peril and other kind of icky things in Battletech. But there's a massive war in the Imperial Center in the area around Terra as the Star League Defense Force, led by General, really good at coming up with names here, Alexander Kerensky.
Oh, weird. That's a familiar name.
Yeah.
Weird that...
Weird.
Alexander Kerensky, gosh.
Kerensky stops a terrible war and then could take over himself, but somehow fails. Anyway, he defeats Stefan Amaris. The Terran hegemony is left in ruins, and it looks like the Star League will fall apart as none of the other houses can decide how they shall jointly rule or who shall become the next First Lord. It looks like there's going to be an inner sphere-wide war. So, General Kerensky takes his family, but also 80% of the Star League Defense Force, which is the by far most powerful military, could fight every other military in the inner sphere by itself, and says, we're leaving. We're taking this material away so it can't be used by these bickering nobles to fight another incredibly destructive war. And Alexander Kerensky leaves beyond the inner sphere and beyond the periphery himself. no one knows where he goes.
So, I know that I'm delaying this a lot, but do we think that taking your toys and, well, not going home, but going the opposite of home, leaving home forever, is that a noble thing to do? Is Kerensky, listen, I understand the impulse here, Alexander, but I just think that maybe this makes it worse. Is all that I'm saying.
Right. I think the decision was based off of that the war to defeat Stefan Amaris, the great usurper. Always have a great usurper in the background of your world, or don't, because it's cliche. It was like, hey, I just fought a 30-year war, and I'm not ready for the next 30-year war personally, and neither are the men and women in my service. So just a personal decision that will basically mean that, there's no way the Inner Sphere can ever be unified again.
Okay, so Kerensky fucks off to who knows where, leaving what behind? Dark Ages, I assume?
No. Yes, we're basically in a dark age after dark age after dark age from this point, because while the only remnant of the Star League is space Wi-Fi services, space AT&T, Comstar, who will vow to maintain, based on the instructions of the Secretary of Communications of the Star League, Jerome Blake, to maintain the interstellar communications as a neutral party. The 5 great houses, Kurita, Davion, Liao, Steiner, and Merrick, each begin a massive war, no holds barred against each other. Ares conventions abandoned again to determine who will be the next First Lord. And we have 2 succession wars, which are really just one big war with a tiny break in the middle. And they bomb themselves back to the Stone Age, to quote General Westmoreland. Most battle mech and all jump ship manufacturing is gone. Many worlds have to be abandoned, or just everyone dies in them. All of the warships the great houses have are gone, and all they're left are battle mechs, which they strive to maintain as best as possible. And then the rules of war creep back in. They're like, wait a second, we are going to continue fighting, but we actually are going to lose our power if we stop blowing up. If we don't stop blowing up like water treatment plants and terraforming atmosphere things and battle mech repair facilities. So we get to the state where the original game is set during the Third Succession War in 3025, when it's the Dark Age. Everyone uses battle mechs because of this culture. Everyone who pilots them is either a mercenary unit founded by the remnants of the Star League Defense Force that didn't leave, or like a noble house that uses it for power. And battles are small scale, conducted on worlds, border skirmishes, mech versus mech, knight against knight, and they've lost some of their cool battle mech technology, and often the fighting is just get up there and punch the other battle mech because we lost all of our cool weapons.
Well, and it made a little sense before, but it makes a lot of sense at this point, right? Nobody can make shiny new things, and the battle mechs are sort of the pinnacle of technology. So if you can keep them maintained, if you can keep them in good condition and find enough ammo...
There's no advancing to the even better weapon of war.
Right.
Because there's no more new technology.
So even though, again, the whole concept behind a 2-legged battle mech, again, still questionable, it definitely makes sense. These are the peak of a technology that's no longer reachable, and so this is where the fights happen. And it's a great setting for a battle mech game.
And what's really fun about this period is, low technology, high drama, where one person or one adventuring party can make a ton of difference in the plot, is really cool. And there's a lot of old school novels from the 80s and 90s set during this time period. As if you wanted to run a campaign where one mercenary unit caught between feuding noble houses, Yojimboing some shit, can conquer a planet or make a difference in the course of billions of people, then it's a really fun idea for a campaign. And there's some great novels and source books for inspiration during the end of the Succession War period.
There is one last thing, though, that we really have to talk about. am I right? One more major event that, you know, that really defines the modern era of Battletech.
Well, Rob, sadly, I wanted to give you a whole view of the Battletech universe. So I've got about 20 more minutes of plot, but I don't know if you have 20 minutes of time.
Hit me with it. I may interrupt you. I may interrupt you, but keep going. Keep going.
Should we get another beer or something?
Yeah,
let's get
another beer.
Let's get another beer.
I'll be right back.
Listeners, you go get another beer too, because we probably can't edit this.
Okay. It can't be done.
That's a joke. So I have no reason to bring this up, Rob, but I thought you would find this funny. There's a Battletech planet called New Dallas, founded by settlers from Dallas.
That is funny. I do like that. I'm easily delighted by the idea of Texas settlers. One of the main draws of The Expanse is, of course, that Mars is a big, you know,
full of Texans.
A big Texas. It never ceases to delight me. So.
Well, the problem with New Dallas,
what's the deal with New Dallas?
The problem with New Dallas, Rob, and I tell my one Dallas joke is, it snows too much in Dallas and it's too hilly, too many hills. And some old man told me this once, and apparently it's a joke about how there's too much cocaine in Dallas and
too many strip clubs.
Strip clubs with women with
fake boobs.
Boobs.
Anyway, that's a classic boomer joke, is what that is.
It's very boomer. But anyway, there's New Dallas. It survives. It becomes part of the Free Worlds League, I think. Anyway, so the Succession Wars have drug the Inner Sphere into the perfect playground for a role-playing game or small-scale wargaming. But then Battletech keeps moving the meta plot forward, which is both its like coolest thing and like worst things. Like other worlds like don't really move things forward that much, but like Battletech gives you like, hey, do you want to play whenever? Do you want a different variety of stompy robots? We can give you that.
Right.
So the next thing that happens is the Succession Wars keep happening. There's lots of cool things, but some people like discover like an old computer. Now, obviously, people still have computers, but they find a memory core that basically lets them unlock a lot of like cheat codes for building old technology, and sparks a renaissance in to drag the Inner Sphere out of now its like 300-year period of decline, and at the same time, finally, after 300 years, like one house gets a slight upper hand. House Davian, led by Hans Davian, the Old Fox, which is a great noble nickname for
excellent
a wily red-headed noble, basically conquers like half of the Capellan Confederation and allies with Melissa Steiner. And even though he's like 50 and her daughter is like 18, they pledge to get married to ally their houses. And
oh no, a classic Habsburg. You hate to see it. You know, you can't have this kind of consolidation going on. That's how you get a Queen Anne's War, or you get a 30 Years War. You know, this is just it's no good.
Oh, we're gonna get one, baby. And the funny thing is, like, one of the great moments in the novels and in the history of the thing is at their wedding party on Terra, the other nobles from the houses are invited. And Hans Davian says, she gives him like a nice watch or something as a wedding present. And he says, "My dear, I give you the Capellan Confederation." And he like breaks a like plate, and everyone's like, "What?" And then they go talk to their like radio people, and they're like, "Oh, Hans Davian, while we were all at this wedding, invaded half of your interstellar empire," which they needed because their empires are not next to each other, so they need a little corridor to connect them. And it's very dramatic. And the fun thing is, Hans Davian is presented in the original novels and stuff as like your main character, and his assistants and people who are in his orbit are all the good guys. But from like another perspective, like he's very much the bad guy. The Inner Sphere is settled in a period of stasis. war was not such a big thing, and he brought it back in the big way. So for the first time,
you love a conqueror,
you do
conquering hero.
We do love a conquering hero. So, we're in the Inner Sphere, succession wars, lots of mercenaries working for all these different sides. And for the first time, the sort of stagnation is broken. The Lyrian Commonwealth and the Federated Sons combine into one house ruled as the Federated Commonwealth, which is like half of the Inner Sphere. So, they're going to win, right, eventually, as long as they can keep it together. But
so yeah, but
it turns out that one of those mercenary groups, Wolf's Dragoons, weren't in fact mercenaries at all, and they head back to beyond the periphery because they were in fact one of the mercenary groups that you can play, and you have no idea this for the first 10 years that Battletech exists or whatever, which is some serious long-term world building, because the original books mention Kerensky left, right? And there's one mercenary group that has slightly better mechs than everyone else, but nothing else beyond that is explained. And you find out that this mercenary group was in fact a spy for the Star League Defense Force, which in its years in exile had become the clams. I mean, the clans.
The clams. Give the clans.
This is the Inner Sphere. Thousands of planets colonized by humankind. Once it was united under the Star League. But for the last 300 years, it has been consumed by savage wars. Until a new enemy appeared. Mysterious invaders known as the clans. Powerful and ruthless, they struck like lightning, attacking every sector at once. But they made one big mistake. They attacked my home planet. Now in the spirit of the Star League, ancient enemies have reunited. And we're gonna take back our galaxy.
This is, I remember this very vaguely. This is serious, they kept it under wraps. What a great reveal. What a long con. This is good stuff.
The Star League Defense Force, with all of the best technology led by Alexander Kerensky beyond the Inner Sphere, had fallen to the same infighting that the Inner Sphere had.
This is great world-building advice. I don't know how Wiseman and crew planned it, but seed these things and, leave yourself room, right? Say, this group went off this way, or there's this unknown city over here, or whatever. And then, if you manage to, bring them in as a major foe or threat or whatever, it looks like you had it planned from the beginning, which is very exciting.
And
even
you put
if
a couple of those in there, right?
Yeah, put a lot in. Yeah.
Space AT&T, Comstars, led by a religious people. They don't really matter. They're neutral. And then if you need to bring that in, which we will, you can.
So the clans.
The clans. The Star League Defense Force turned into its own civil war in some really shitty worlds in the periphery, and Alexander Kerensky's son Nicholas led a fraction of a fraction away from this civil war and reorganized them into a highly militaristic caste society based on basically a third grader's understanding of Mao and I don't know, occult and Mongol history. And Nicholas called himself the Great Khan and organized his warriors into 20 clans, which all have a very cool animal that they worship. Not exactly, they have a totem animal. Clan Wolf, Clan Jade Falcon, Clan Smoke Jaguar. They're all very dumb names, but I like them.
They're very teen boy names.
Oh, it's man, it's just a teen boy came up with this entire setting, specifically a teen boy from the 90s and 80s,
the 90s, yeah. Again, a big part of this is what makes this cool is that the design is good. The mechs look cool, the insignias look cool. The artists are really the lore is cool, but the artists are carrying the franchise in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Stopping
Even though
it from
some
being,
of the old art is stupid and dorky,
some of the old art is very bad,
cool.
but the mechs and are all pretty cool.
Right. What you think? You think having a faction named Clan Diamond Shark is dorky, Rob? Excuse me.
So
The Wolf's Dragoons were spies for the clans all along, and they informed the clans that actually
I forgot there was like Fire Mandrill.
Fire Mandrill, let's see, Ice Hellion, my personal favorite, Clan Burrock.
I do like Clan Mongoose. Clan Mongoose is a pretty
they got absorbed by Smoke Jaguar during the Clan Golden Age, Rob. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But anyway, we did love Clan Mongoose, Clan Sea Fox. Actually, they became Snow Raven. Anyway, the clans hear from their spies, which they sent to the Inner Sphere, because Nicholas and Alexander had kind of charged them with protecting the Inner Sphere, and what that meant basically depended on your perspective. Some clans, after their long years developing their own culture in which warriors rule the rest. Also, the clans develop even better technology than the Star League with better guns and stuff, and grow people in vats now.
Oh, right, they do.
So
they
do space eugenics.
Gene, whatever. Yeah,
space eugenics. Yeah,
space.
They
eugenics.
basically. Clans have warriors, and warriors who are the best get to, put some genes in a cup, and then their genes get to be used to make, in a vat, the next generation of warriors, the true-born warriors, as opposed to free births, which are people born like you and me. Well, anyway, the clans.
So Mongol Gattaca is what it is. Yeah.
Mongol Gattaca, and the clans have sound really ridiculous. They have all their own words like Desgra and Rise Star and Batshal, which are all very silly. And they have an even more ritualistic form of warfare that tries to be as least wasteful as possible. So they try and always fight with the least amount of forces as possible, never damage any infrastructure, and kind of formally challenge each other to battle. But they also engineer 7-foot-tall swole dudes and dudettes who have power armor, which is new and cool. The power armor in Battletech is awesome.
Okay, so we got the clans.
The clans have, and I don't know if you knew this, Rob, the clans had two factions during their time in exile, based on the interpretation of Nicholas Krinsky's words and Alexander Krinsky's hidden hope doctrine. The clans must protect the Inner Sphere. But what does protect mean? The Crusader clans meant that they should protect the people of the Inner Sphere, reinvade, crush the great noble houses, and rule as a revived Star League. The Warden clans believe that they should stay aloof, unless there was some other greater crisis that threatened the extinction of humanity itself, or some invasion from, even beyond. So,
and which faction wins, Matt?
Well, the wolves return, and they tell the clans, oh, hey, the Inner Sphere's getting their shit together. And this is the catalyst, along with a Comstar exploratory vessel stumbling into clan space, that they basically have a big council of khans, and elect an Ilkhan for the first time in centuries, and the Crusaders win. There's a big battle and a refusal. Oh, clan law is great, because whenever anyone votes on anything or makes a decision, you can always refuse and have a trial by combat. But it's democratic, Rob. So let's say our council votes 3-2 that you lost. Well, you can fight and refuse that order, but you have to do it at 2-3 odds. Because that was the vote. That's democracy, Rob, in the future.
That's
fake Mongol space democracy.
That sounds like sure. That's fair.
The Crusaders win, and the clans are so arrogant that they think only 4 of the remaining 18 clans at this point. No, sorry, 4 of the remaining 17.
Do they call
clans.
it a Kurultai? Like it is actually
Yes.
among the Mongol Khans? Okay.
Yes, they do. They do. And so they elect an Ilkhan, which they had sort of abandoned that post many years ago. And the Crusaders win, but they're so arrogant they believe that only 4 clans can conquer the entire Inner Sphere. They have a little battle to decide who the 4 clans should be.
They gotta cripple themselves intentionally, otherwise it would be
Otherwise, it would be unfair, and if you were playing war games at your table, it would be OP.
So 4 clans,
yeah.
4 clans get the right to conquer, That makes sense. Sure, they receive the honor of conquest.
Clan Wolf gets one of the spots because that was Nicholas Krinsky's clan. And even though they're wardens, they're like, well, we'll do it anyway since it's what everyone voted for. We tried to refuse it in a battle, but we lost, so we'll still go along with it. However, they're doing some shenanigans behind everyone else's back. Anyway, the other clans are Smoke Jaguar, Jade Falcon, and Ghost Bear.
Those are perfectly good.
Yeah, perfectly
Sure.
good names.
All right, so here's the thing. So we've already gotten a lot of good reasons for why they don't immediately steamroll the Inner Sphere, but as we've indicated, they have better mechs and better technology. All of these warriors are 7 foot tall, perfect gene specimens who have been bred in a crucible of combat and live in the, harsh outer reaches of the periphery rather than the
Right.
soft fields of the inner sphere. So
Right.
why
they
don't
grew up in Sibcos, basically warrior nurseries.
so why do the clans not immediately steamroll every inner sphere mech and punch their way to Terra and, I don't know, do whatever it is that they intend to do?
First, they almost do, right? They catch everyone by surprise. They've got better technology, and their warriors are great. But second, like the Inner Sphere warriors, unlike what the clans sort of thought, are actually pretty good, right? They're honed in warfare as well. The clans are...
They've been doing real fighting for a while, not
Right.
ritual
brutal
combat.
fighting. Yeah. And the clans, almost conquer the capital of the Draconis Combine, and it's only by the Inner Sphere banding together like a team of super friends that they're able to slow the invasion somewhat. And really, they get lucky. It's very much Jordan Wiseman, was reading his basic history of Europe and the Mongol invasion, and the Ilkhan dies. A fighter plane crashes through the cockpit of
and they
command
all
ship.
have to be recalled to clan lands to have a Kurultai.
That is exactly what happens, and it gives everyone enough breathing room to get their shit together.
Is the Ilkhan who dies named Ogadai Khan, or did they?
No, his name was Leo Showers, if my
Okay.
memory serves me correct. Not
Okay.
exactly an Ogadai.
I don't hate the conceit, but it is funny that it's like literally like a 1-to-1. Yeah. So
And then they re-elect a new Khan, because Clan Wolf had done the best, because they're the Mary Sue of the setting, is Ulrich Kerensky. There's a lot of people named who are like Wolf or something, Doesn't Ulrich mean like wolf or something?
I think
in,
so.
like,
Yeah.
ancient
Right.
German?
It's German for something.
So he's from Wolf Clan, and his name is Wolf, and he loves wolves. So there's a lot of fun stories here. Actually, probably the best novels in Battletech are set during this era. Michael Stackpole's Blood of Kerensky trilogy. They're very horny and cool. I read them as a teen. I should probably go back and read them someday, but I'll be disappointed. The clans, however, basically they're like War Machine slows down about halfway to Terra, and Ulrich bargains with Comstar to have a proxy battle for Terra instead of just continuing this war and like starting to bring in more clans because that will be bad for everyone. And Ulrich doesn't want the Crusaders, who treat the Inner Sphere like scum, to be in charge, because he actually didn't want the invasion in the first place because he's a warden. So they have a proxy battle for Terra on the planet Tukiad. And lo and behold, Comstar has a giant secret army that they've been hiding from everyone, and they kick the clan's ass. It's a little bit Deus Ex Machina, but then the clan invasion is at least halted for the time being, as the clans are honor-bound to agree to a truce. The Inner Sphere continues to get its shit together and reforms the Star League, though it's nowhere near the original Star League. It's just more of a political alliance full of bickering people. But they do manage to wipe out Clan Smoke Jaguar and head to the clan homeworlds and show them what's what. And now we're through Era 3 of Battletech. I've got 3 more less interesting eras to tell you about.
Okay.
We'll do them rapid fire.
Let's rapid fire the last 3 eras.
Next thing that happens is the giant state during the truce between the clans and the Inner Sphere. Clan Wolf almost gets wiped out for doing genocide on the warriors by not allowing them to fight. Some of them survive. Some of them get absorbed by Jade Falcon, spit back out. It's not that interesting. But back in Inner Sphere land, the Federated Commonwealth, held together by heir to half of the Inner Sphere, Victor Steiner Davian, is betrayed by just that rat of his sister, Katrina Steiner, who for really no reason is just really mean and selfish. And the Federated Commonwealth falls apart after several assassinations, and Katrina pulls the Lyran half of the Federated Commonwealth back into its own state. So in the Inner Sphere, like, all the returning warriors from the clan wars are sucked into at least the ones that live in House Davian and House Steiner's land, a vicious and very cool civil war.
We love a cool civil war. Steiner and Davian at each other's throats, family against family, brother against brother.
Right. It's very much, if you want to, like, hey, nobles are back. Which side do you choose? Let's kill each other. It's super fun. And then, because they didn't really know what to do next, and because FASA collapsed, and because Jordan Wiseman had a stake in a little company called WizKids.
Oh, yeah. We haven't even talked about the 5 different companies that owned Battletech. Yeah, I was going to mention this.
It's impossible to tell both stories at the same time.
It is.
I'm trying my best. FASA collapses here. And all the cool battle pods and John Belushi's out of work, and the video games are no longer. The rights are sold to Microsoft. Actually, this is when Microsoft makes the good video games, MechWarrior 2 and MechWarrior 3 and MechWarrior 4. But they don't know what to do with the timeline. All the games are good,
by the way, folks. Some are just much better, and 2 and 3 are chef's
I even
kiss.
love Mech Assault and Mech Assault 2 for the Xbox. They're pulpy, and they don't follow the lore at all, but it doesn't matter because they're lots of fun. You blow things up with robots a lot. Jordan was like, wait a second, we want to get Battletech back to its roots. There's been too much large-scale combat. We need the more Mad Max feel of robot versus robot, and I own this clicky company now, or part of it, and we're going to make MechWarrior Dark Age, advance the timeline by huge amounts, create some new factions, kill some old factions, say battle mechs are rare again. The fights will be like 1 or 2 battle mechs on each side, plus a bunch of cannon fodder, infantry, and vehicles. Some people liked it. Lots of people hated it because the one thing about Battletech, at least the war game, they haven't really changed the rules that much, which is kind of cool, right? The other games are always coming out with new additions and stuff. Like Battletech, it's always been the same, pretty much. There's been some clarifications and things, but things are exactly as they are. So we moved to MechWarrior Dark Age, and no one knew what happened. And then they backfilled all of that with the next era after the Civil War, which was, I hate to say this word here, but Battletech Jihad.
You hate to see it.
You do hate to see it. It turns out that Comstar was unhappy.
Who's doing the Jihad, Matt? I actually don't know about this one.
Well, Comstar, Space AT&T, was mad that the secret army was used for secular reasons, and that the leader
how did Space AT&T get a religious bent to it? They're just like the communication company.
It's never really explained, but Jerome Blake, the founder, put a lot of his sayings down, and the people who ran the HPG basically had high school educations doing theoretical particle physics, and so they got a little religious about it.
That makes sense.
And when the guy who defeated the Klan, Precentor Marshal Anastasius Vogt, basically said, okay, we're done being quasi-religious Space AT&T. We just want to be normal Space AT&T. That caused some problems. And there was a schism in Comstar while some of this other stuff is going on. And devout followers of Jerome Blake, and I love a religious figure named Blake, founded the Word of Blake.
Okay.
I've made fun of faction names before. Word of Blake is great.
Word of Blake rules.
Word of Blake, the Word of Blake, or the Wobbies, W-O-B, Word of Blake, basically took Comstar's...
this came up separately today, but there's maybe we'll talk about this someday, but there's a Republic of Dave in Fallout 3
Yes.
that is just like fucking rules. Anyway,
It's awesome.
anyway, Blake, word of Blake.
There's all sorts of side things in Battletech that are fun. There's like one planet that's like just Mad Max. There's one planet that is like small scale knights. There's one planet that it was a like businessman self-help guy who founded like a pretty huge territory in the periphery, and he was really into Rome. Like he listened to like the Fall of Rome podcast and read Gibbons, and so he founded.
He watched
Space
the awesome Rome miniseries and was just like super
And he was
fucking
just
excited about it.
I'm conquering all these places. I'm just gonna model my society off Rome because I'm a Rome
That's
nerd.
also in the Fallout.
He also
universe.
brought
Sorry,
back slavery.
We
so
really
that
got to talk
sucks,
about
but-
Fallout because this is also relevant. That's
You will have to do to me what I'm doing.
we're gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to do
without
to you
Fallout.
what you just did
You
to me.
have
But anyway,
explain Fallout to me. So there's a jihad.
there's a jihad. Sorry, who's doing the jihad? It's the Blake, right?
Word of Blake, they fuck everyone up. They kill the communications network, launching an even darker dark age. Basically, all the main characters in all of the plot that's happened so far die or get old and retire, and like new factions emerge. There's a lot of chaos. The Word of Blake conquers like the entire center of the Inner Sphere. They're defeated by a coalition led by a mysterious man named Delvin Stone, who founds a Republic of Terra. So he reestablished the Jihad is defeated, but basically the Inner Sphere is crippled beyond belief. At the same time, the clans back in the homeworlds of the clans have a civil war and basically destroy themselves, except for a few of them left. The ones in the Inner Sphere are cut off from the clan homeworlds. And in the like Ibn Khalid, what's the Muslim historian who wrote about the cycles of nomadic
Ibn Khalid. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Nomadic and sedentary peoples, the clans become more Inner Sphere like, the ones that stay.
Ibn Khaldun. Sorry,
Khaldun. Thank
Khaldun.
you.
But yes,
Ibn
right. Sorry.
Khaldun,
The influence of the soft and settled people corrupts the strong and noble nomads. Yes.
So a bunch of clans stay around and expand their empires and mess around. The Free Worlds League collapses and then comes back together. House Davian, after being the like winners of every war and everything, get their asses handed to them and get their capital world conquered and lose like half of their planets to the Capellan Confederation. Justice for the Capellans, finally.
Finally.
And that brings us to the Republic of the Sphere is sort of falling apart. They have a weird technology that they kind of made up for this clicky game that no one can invade. No one can jump into the Republic of the Sphere. And it's not really explained other than in the book that came out last month, but I won't get into that in case people want to not have spoilers. And that's the next era of Battletech, the Republic era, which brings us to the current age. The meta plot is still advancing as of the year 2021. So here's the very last thing, Rob.
I'm so excited for this because the last two things were not at all something I was aware of. So I'm very excited for the finale where we are.
Those last two things were like fairly controversial among fans because it advanced things too far and too fast, and people didn't like the clicks and the jihad, and they're like, what's going on?
I mean,
so
I'm not loving
popular.
it anywhere near as much as I loved the main meta plots, which I grew up with, which is because those were good and has nothing to do with the fact that it's nostalgia or whatever. I mean,
No, not at all. Yeah, the other ones are fine. What is we're now in a, as we talked about at the very beginning of this episode, if you can remember that long ago, we're in a Battletech renaissance, right? And one part of the renaissance, in the addition to people actually playing the game a lot more and there being video games for it, though the company that makes Battletech is it's a Follies on the level of a silent film escapade.
It's Catalyst, and
Catalyst.
we've talked about Catalyst in our Shadowrun episode.
Yes.
And
Well, do you want to know what they fucked up this time?
oh, I really don't, man. But
I'm
gotta
gonna tell you, it's
you
not
gotta
that
tell
bad.
me. No, it's okay. It's just like it's so heartbreaking
disappointing
that
every
this
time.
company holds the IP for Shadowrun and for BattleTech. I honestly, an algorithm could do a better job. Like it's just like a dartboard. Like it would be impossible to run a company worse than Catalyst Game Labs has been run, and I just what do they do? What
it's
do they
mostly,
do this time?
I mean, yes, there are crimes, both literal and like figurative. But what I will say is that, one step forward, two steps back. In the last 10 years, Catalyst has like published like new stuff that doesn't suck. Like for Battletech, and they made like
their Battletech stuff
miniatures.
hasn't been as bad as their Shadowrun stuff, which is true.
They made some new miniatures that kick ass. One of the problems with Battletech is the miniatures were always really outdated and looked kind of funky and were expensive metal casts. They made some plastic miniatures that paint well and are actually really cool looking. And they made like an introductory box set, which they hadn't done ever. Imagine playing this really complicated war game that takes 3 hours, or the world's most complicated role-playing game, the Mech Warrior role-playing game, which is like 400 pages of incomprehensible rules for everything, and not having a beginner's box. But they made that. They made a beginner's version of the RPG, which I've already reviewed, and they made a beginner's version of the game, and they made a quick play version of the game called Alpha Strike. And they're all really good, and the miniatures look amazing. And then new people are interested in the game. By the way, 40K people, they may suck, and many of them may be quasi-fascist, but they can paint a miniature a lot better than Battletech fans. I will say
they can. They know how to paint a minifig. They sure do.
They do. So here's the tragedy of this. It's like, yeah, of course Catalyst can never succeed. Is right when they've just launched like a $2 million Kickstarter and they had the chance to revive the game and make it a serious cash cow because all of these Warhammer 40K people are interested in it and there's all these video games out. The pandemic happens, their supply chain gets completely fucked up, and for the first time in their history, people want to buy Battletech miniatures and stuff, and everything is completely out of stock. So there's all these new fans like ready to go, like, hey, I'm interested in Battletech. Oh, yeah, you can't buy any and probably won't be able to for like the next year. Sorry. Amazing, right?
Amazing
level of incompetence.
Some of that is undoubtedly
right. It's not their fault, right?
It's supply chain stuff, which everybody is suffering from, but it's still like, yeah.
It's like you had the one chance. It was like, God is like, all right, you could have another chance at Battletech. Here's 50,000 people who will buy your miniatures just to try it, and there's none to be found.
And there's none. And
by the time there are, their attention span will probably have moved on. So it's just funny.
All right, Matt, let's wrap this up. Though I'm having a great time, and I could talk about this forever.
But right, we can't make our listeners listen to this much Battletech. the final thing that happens.
I promise my eventual Fallout episode will be at least 15 minutes shorter, maybe.
Well, I won't delay you with 30 minutes of like,
yeah,
what's a Fallout, Rob?
This is 100% my fault.
The final
Matt was like, ask a bunch of questions. So I was like, okay, here we go.
Rob, what's that cute little boy who looks like he's from a 50s cartoon and has a little thumbs up? Rob, what's a rocket pop? Okay, whatever. The final episode.
Nuka-Cola, Matt?
Right, sorry. Final era of Battletech is the Republic of the Sphere is collapsing, and the clans have long tried to conquer the Inner Sphere, but specifically Terra, because that's like the symbol of the Inner Sphere. Right. And at the end of the Dark Age, Ulrich Wolf, the new Khan of Clan Wolf, who is the Dark Secret, made from the genes of Katrina Steiner, the person, if you remember from the Civil War, fucked everything up, and a wolf warrior named Vlad Wolf, and her brother, Victor Steiner Davian, so a little bit of incest eugenics there. Basically is a super good commander, and he conquers a huge amount of territory for the reformed Clan Wolf, but Jade Falcon adopts the Mongol doctrine and conquers a bunch of territory as well, and they both invade Terra because the codes are leaked to invade Terra to them. It's complicated, but they conquer Terra. They have a big three-way battle between the forces of the Republic of the Sphere, the Republic of Terra, Clan Wolf, and Clan Jade Falcon. Clan Wolf, because they're the Mary Sue, eventually win and crush Jade Falcon because they're ridiculously, villainously evil. They shoot people for disobeying orders and being civilians. It's silly. Clan Wolf becomes the Ill clan, like the Ill Khan, the Khan of Khans. Clan Wolf,
the Clan of Clans.
the Clan of Clans, and refounds the Star League for a third time now. Invites the other clans to join, and then question mark. That's the era we're in now. Well, will the clans unite once again, or more likely, will they fight amongst themselves and give the other military noble houses another target? Will the remaining homeworld clans show up again out of nowhere? We don't know, but it's a very fun new era, the final era Ill clan. So we'll see where it goes. Metaplot. That's Battletech in
That's Battletech.
way too much time.
We've talked a lot about like what makes this a great setting and the cool world building, and also we just talked about it a bunch. We have now gone on way too long. Any final thoughts on that we haven't covered? Because I feel like we've done a lot, but anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we'd talked about?
No, I mean, we hit everything. There's a ton of cool world building that you can look up. If you want to play a Battletech RPG, there's the Mech Warrior RPGs or Mech Warrior Destiny. They're very, very complicated. I would say use a different system, but the idea of having, I myself use Lancer. The Lancer RPG,
I was going to mention, is a great RPG setting and a good fit for Battletech.
Right. It's a great system. Their own setting is great, but you can easily convert it to Battletech. Because the idea of an adventuring party that also hops into their lance of battle mechs and dukes it out with other battle mechs is super cool. But yeah, I love Battletech. It's probably my favorite franchise of all time. Oh, Rob, how dare you refuse my bachal? There was also a cartoon in the 80s that was really, really bad.
I've mentioned that multiple times.
Sorry.
The cartoon. I love
My
the cartoon.
Home Planet. It's all really bad. And the fun thing about the cartoon, it's so campy and it's so bad that they explain it in the lore in that it is an in-universe propaganda film about
That's very advanced.
faction.
That's extremely meta.
Because the like House Kurita, the people, the Japanese inspired Space Empire are like so devious and sneaky, and the clans are so evil, and the House Steiner people are so good. They're like, this is an in-universe thing made by the Lyrian Commonwealth Broadcasting Company. About how you should love your noble rulers who are also mech warriors, and they only want the best for you. They're not at all craven, inbred idiots. We're ending on a high note. I guess if I have to bring up anything, Texas is a hellhole. Rob, if it's okay with you, and of course it's going to be, I'm going to include some links that if you want to help out the people of Texas who can get pregnant and need to have health care because of our dumb fucking state. There'll be some links to the Texas Choice Network and West Fund and the Lilith Fund to help people in Texas get the medical care and abortions that they need. So
abortions are health care.
Please donate.
Please do if you can. Matt lives in Texas. Both of us are from Texas. Please do not insult our great state because it's full of otherwise good people. They just happen to be ruled by some of the absolute worst dumb shit assholes on the planet. But it's a nice place.
Anyway,
all right. Well, that aside, thanks for listening to us ramble about Battletech. It rules. It's awesome.
Charge up your PPCs, fix your leg actuator in position, reactor online, sensors online.
Fix your neurohelmet to your brain pads, and let's rock and roll. No guts, Matt.
No galaxy.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Keep rolling them dice.